welcome back to another video. After my one last night on HYLIION stock, which is also SHLL by the ticker symbol, somebody asked me to make another video. Somebody asked me to answer their comment on what I thought the price of SHLL stock would do in the future. Now, I was not going to write a comment to this because I thought it was going to be too long to explain, but I'm sure a lot of people actually did want to know the answer to that. Now, obviously, I am no financial advisor and nobody who actually knows what's going to happen. I am just somebody with an opinion, and I'm going to be looking at the price of the stock and why I think it is potentially going to go a lot higher after the merger. Even after that, generally speaking, a lot of hype builds up around the merger, and then once the merger's done, a lot of stocks will drop off. However, this is probably going to be true for HYLIION, but I believe also after that we are going to see a rise. So I believe the price after the merger will still stay higher than what it is now for some reasons which I'm going to be explaining here in tonight's video. To get an understanding of what we're going to see future weeks and months, this is more of the short term in the future. So looking at the future weeks and months, we need to look at the past weeks and months in my opinion. So let's go to 6 months for this because I think this represents it best. I think we are probably going to see a drop similar to this as we have seen such a huge spike. We saw a little bit of a sell-off earlier this week, and I believe the stock is actually going to continue to go up in value all the way up till the merger, and then perhaps then it's going to fall down. So obviously I am not in a position to actually tell you what's really going to happen with this one, but I believe around the time of the merger this stock could really go to $70 or $80 in my personal opinion, and then it could drop down to around 50 again, maybe even 60 or 70. Obviously I could be wrong with that, and I probably will be. It's just what I think is going to happen. So that's obviously looking in the next 6 months and lower, next few weeks, the next few months, even the next few days. I think in the next few days we could see kind of a bullish run again on this stock. However, it's just a bit hard to say because obviously it has dropped off over the past week. When we look at the 5-day, we can see we are still in the red. However, we are coming back up to the green. So hopefully we can see the stock break back into the green and make some money on it. So I believe that this one is actually going to shoot up in the next week or so. That's just my personal opinion. So another reason why I think the stock is going to do well in the long-term future, so if we look at the 1 year, I believe this stock could definitely shoot to over $120. I would say $120 would be a good point for next year in my opinion, and I'm going to be explaining the reasons for that now. So obviously one of these is obviously the merger, because that's going to add a lot of capital to the company as two companies merge together. Another thing is obviously the product. So when we look at the product line, you'll see that they are very future-proof, and I'm going to be explaining that in a minute. But just before I jump into that, I would like to ask you very kindly if you could subscribe to the channel. Please do subscribe, it would help me out so much. I'm trying to get to 1,000 and we're already on 111, sorry. So yeah, if we could get to 1,000, that would be appreciated so much, so please do help us to get there. But yes, when we look at the products themselves from HYLIION, we can see they are very future proof in my opinion. So obviously HYLIION are doing natural gas trucks and things like that. Basically they are looking to alternatives for zero emission trucks. So obviously electricity is one of those, and I believe that HYLIION is trying to move to that right now. So obviously we've got hybrid diesels because they are hybrid powertrains, as it says right in the top. And the very top thing is actually the electric or natural gas truck, I think it was, which is the Hypertruck ERX. Obviously talked about that in the previous HYLIION videos loads of times, so we're not going to go too much into this. But the reason why I believe this company could shoot up hugely in the future years especially, so this is why I believe it's a buy and hold stock in my opinion, is because one, the infrastructure for the product's already there. Natural gas trucks are already, well, the infrastructure's already there. Another thing is electric trucks are also already there, kind of. So going for things like natural gas and electricity are basically common use options these days, whereas things like hydrogen are not necessarily so common. So yes, it's a good idea, but then you need a full infrastructure change once again, and that's just probably not going to be the way to go. So going this way, I believe it did ensure them to get a nice piece of market share, because they don't need some niche charging systems which other companies might use. So obviously there are a lot of electric trucks. However, I believe that the HYLIION truck is going to do the zero emissions best, because one, natural gas is obviously widely used in a lot of countries, especially America, so that shouldn't really be a problem when it comes to filling it up. But another reason is because of the payload capacity of the truck. Now, I've not really even talked about this one too much on the channel, but I believe that the HYLIION truck has a higher capacity than the Tesla truck and a few other trucks. Now, another thing which I believe sets the HYLIION truck apart from a lot of other trucks, including the Tesla truck once again, not only the higher payload capacity, another thing which I think is very important is the fact that their products are already out there. And I believe this is actually reflected on the share price a lot in general, as the share price has risen. Obviously it's risen more in recent months, but we can look at basically the future for this and anticipate more sales and higher price rises as the stock is already in full production. Basically, the company's product is in production. They're already making powertrains. They're already doing this and that, so many things in their company. So obviously, another thing to note, in my opinion, which is kind of important, is HYLIION stock has been around since 2015, I think it is, and this is obviously a very important feature because it shows that the company is not just going to be one of these startups that basically gets involved in a lot of controversy straight away, like Nikola. This is a company which is looking like it could shape up to be a future player in this field of zero emissions trucks. So obviously not really too saturated this market is. Obviously electric cars, personal vehicles, there are a lot of different vehicle options and companies for people to go for. You've got things like Tesla, Nikola potentially. You've got things like Lordstown Motors, Xpeng. I've obviously talked about all these on the channel so far and more to come. Neo, things like that. So yeah, you can imagine this market is actually less saturated. We've got things like the HYLIION Hyper truck, things like a Tesla truck, potential Nikola truck if we ever do see that. But yeah, these are just a few of the reasons which I think this stock could shoot up a lot in the future. So I hope you enjoyed this short video of me explaining why I think this stock could do very well in the future. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I will see you next episode. Goodbye for now.